platform, and I appreciate letting me speak. I am unopposed, but I'll tell you, it has been an honor to serve the 7th District for the past 8 years. It has truly been an honor, and I take it seriously each and every day on your behalf. Wanted to share one of the things, Joel talked a lot about what you learned through the years and just the different things, and I think for me, this last session was about the importance of relationships and how those relationships prove
That's
to
not
be
for you.
fruitful. Oh, okay. I really get the short end of the stick.
10 seconds. You got
I
10
just
seconds.
did. Yeah, I know. And there's a reason I'm standing down here because, well, anyway, it's always short jumps, but the thing is you work really hard, and our job is to work with people and also to educate people on our issues, but it's to build those relationships. And that's really what gets work done. And I can tell you that this year in particular was really fruitful for the citizens that we represent in the 7th District. You can have a really good idea, and those ideas are great, but you have 98 members in the House, 49 members in the Senate, and the governor. And I know there are a lot of you that know that, and it really takes a bipartisan approach. You don't, whether you're in the minority or the majority, you need to be able to work with one another. And we have found over the years, those relationships and trust, and that your word is what you say it is. And those have really provided very key things, and I just wanted to talk about a couple of those, because each one of them had significant Democratic and Republican support and influence to get the job done. One of the bills that actually was brought to me from Oroville, from local realtor groups, at one point the Building Code Council wanted to make this a separate climate zone in north central and northeastern Washington. And really what that meant is that it would be costlier to build houses, to upgrade houses, and it would really be a detriment to our local building industry and to folks in affordable housing. And we were able to work over a 2-year period and had significant bipartisan support. It was actually an idea that Rocky Devon here locally from Oroville brought to me. And again, the thing is you do have to, this process is about working with others. And you're not going to agree all the time, but you need to work to bridge those differences and figure out where you do. And that legislation was successful 2 years ago, and we stopped the Building Code Council from being able to do that. So Eastern Washington has one climate zone, Western Washington has one climate zone for building code purposes. And it made a lot of sense, and a lot of our local builders participated in that, as did local realtors. But the significance there is, again, you need to work to get it done. And you need to be willing to hear what people have to say and the ideas that they offer. I had a bill this past session, actually 2 sessions, Group B water regulation. And again, a lot of our county commissioners helped me on that. But the significance to that bill is the Department of Health was putting into place rules that did not work for our rural communities when it came to development of small public water systems. And they really didn't want to listen to the county commissioners. They didn't want to work with our county commissioners. And so my legislation, although the governor vetoed it in the end, the cool thing is Department of Health is sitting down with the counties and actually working with them to develop a system that works to protect public health, which we all care about, but to also allow there to be reasonable development when it comes to those small Group Bs. The point of that, though, is along the way, Department of Health didn't like that. They felt very threatened by that. This was their domain, and they kept telling me, you're never going to get it through. And my whole deal is, again, it's those built relationships, and it's asking, I would ask my Democratic colleagues, what kind of issues do you have with the bill? And so they would share things with me, and I said, well, I'm willing to work with you on those, and let's see if we can make this work. And it was really that process in both the House and Senate that had overwhelming support in passage of the bill. And even though I had the idea and I liked the way I wrote it, there were good ideas that others presented. And so it made the bill a better bill. And in the end, even though the governor vetoed it, and I get that, again, Department of Health is back at the table, and they're meeting with the county commissioners. I didn't need that bill. What I think is a success if they came back to the table and actually worked to come up with solutions that worked for everybody involved. And I hopefully, keeping my fingers crossed, they're gonna be able to get that resolved. I use those examples because that's the way I operate. When you go over to Olympia and you start just working with folks, it's very important to listen, and it's very important to take what people say and figure out I always believe where there's a will, there's a way. Can we take what they're trying to do, and does it help or enhance the bill, or is it something that just completely changes what you're trying to do? And I'll be honest, I've asked for my bills not to go any further because they became bills that weren't where I wanted to go. So I think just the message I would leave with you, other than it's an honor to represent you in the 7th District and to work on your behalf, is I'm not afraid to work with other people. That's what we're to do, and I feel like I have built really good, solid relationships to get things done in the legislature on your behalf. And it's an honor, and thank you so much for coming out tonight and just listening and participating in the process. I'd certainly be happy to take any questions. Yes, Patty.
Patrick Plum, Mayor, City of Tonasket. So we keep being told, and I've been trying to keep up with it at the state level, but there's some talk about healthcare changing pretty significantly in our area, where it may require us to consolidate mental health, the hospital payments, and ambulance payments, and all these sort of healthcare things. We're going to combine it into one, which would put our critical access hospitals in the 7th District at a lot of danger of closing. Is there any official talk to resolve that at a state level? I don't think that we're asking necessarily for money as much as just protect having a heart attack in Oroville and getting in Tonasket already hard enough. Getting from Oroville to OMAC is a pretty significant deal, and we share the hospital district, and we really appreciate the support that we get from Oroville for a lot of different things to work together in this hospital district. But do you know of anything that's coming up that is going to impact our ability to keep this hospital going in Tonasket?
You're right, Patrick. There is an effort, and there is an effort to bring healthcare into regional-based systems. Now, you can think on one hand that might make sense, but as Patrick so well said, it really leaves communities without an ability, potentially, to provide the service for the people who live in their communities. And I will tell you, there's nothing legislatively at this point, but through things like Accountable Communities of Health and some of these regional networks, there is a movement afoot to do that, and there is a movement to try and put it into place, but I think it's 2020. And while there isn't anything legislatively, most of this has been, can we do it? Let's put more of like a task force together to see if this can work. And again, working together is a good thing, but it gets a little murky when you talk about interrupting that individual, ability to provide healthcare, in our rural communities. And so I'm not sure where it's going. I do sit on the healthcare committee, and that is something that I am concerned with. Again, working together to provide better care for folks in our region, that's not a bad thing, but how it ends up being could be very detrimental. And I have been on the record as not being supportive if it's going to take away the ability of, Tonasket or other communities like Tonasket to provide the health care that they've been able to. So I'm keeping a close eye on that.
Thanks.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, okay. You can ask one if you want. Any other questions? Thank you all so much, everybody.